How to sharpen a card scraper. Something a lot of people struggle with. It's a very underrated tool, in my opinion. I'm going to show you how I sharpen a card scraper or roll a hook on it, essentially to create a microplane, if you're in the correct terminology. There's a few things that you will need, and I'll show you what those are. Something a lot of people don't know is how aggressive a hook you roll depends on what you want to do with it. You get too aggressive of a hook, you'll move a lot of material fast, but it doesn't leave as good of a finish. And you can roll a finish hook on the other side. So essentially you could do stock removal to take out like mill marks from your planer or your joiner. And then you would flip your card scraper over and go back over it again. And then you can go straight to finish from that. You don't have to sand. So you're gonna need a card scraper, of course. Something to dress your edge and take your old burr off and basically square up this edge and make it 90 degrees essentially. This is just a piece of maple that's been jointed on one face and an edge, ran through the table saw and made a curve just wide enough for the file. You don't have to have this. You just need something to make a 90 degree, that has a 90 degree face and an edge. So this is just a 3M sharpening system. You can do the same thing with this. You would take your card scraper and you would dress that face and take that down. It does take a little longer, so this is what I use. So we're just going to take that edge off. Now I stand my card up on edge about 1 or 2 swipes, because when you file that face, it will push a burr out to the side. Do both sides. And you'll feel a difference when it gets flat. You'll feel it. There's a different feel in the drag. It's smoother, or it's cutting the whole face, and you'll feel that. So now we're squared up. That's got a little bit of a hook still left on it. Burr. So one more thing is I'll go on my sharpening system. Whatever you have works. You can use an Arkansas stone. You can use diamond plates. I have diamond plates, but I think more people would have this rather than diamond plates. So we'll go just a little bit of an angle. We're just going to kind of hone, essentially, and take a little bit of a burr that might be left on the card from using the file. Now next you're going to have something to burnish it with. Now I have a burnishing rod. Some people may not have a burnishing rod. So I'm going to use a screwdriver. This is just a Stanley screwdriver. You can burnish with anything round. It just has to be harder than what the steel your card scraper is made out of. So you don't have to have a vise either. You can clamp this in a parallel clamp and then clamp that clamp down to your table if you don't have, a decent vise. So we're going to roll an aggressive hook on this side and then a finish hook on the other side. We're going to start about 90 degrees. You're just going to start rolling an edge back and forth. And you don't have to worry so much about going all the way to the corners, because you're never going to use those for normal scraping. So we're just going to start rolling that edge and go back and forth. And the pressure is just something you have to get a feel for. On a more aggressive hook, you're going to increase the angle to roll that edge over farther. Just feel, we've got a hook. We'll go a little bit more. Okay, we'll do the other side. Okay, and flip it over. We're going to finish hook on this side. So we're going to go same pressure, but we're not going to go as steep of an angle. You'll feel it. So right there we've got enough of a hook to remove material with, but it'll be very light. So I've already done most of this tabletop. This is a 3-foot round tabletop, and it's got an old shellac finish on it. Now, I don't want to use chemical strippers because I don't want to deal with any of the residual effects that it might have if any of it gets left in the wood. I can strip this whole tabletop in about 15 minutes with a scraper. So we're gonna take, and if I was using sandpaper, it'd be clogging up sandpaper, spending how many dollars in sandpaper with clogging up. So we'll take our heavy hook side, take that off. And you see that's one pass. Okay, one or two more will be down to wood. And you can tell the difference in color in that, but we just hit wood. Now, an advantage to a card scraper with knowing when you hit wood is like if you're stripping veneer, you know, you don't have a lot of thickness there to work with for veneer. So we've pretty much got all the finish off. We're gonna flip over to our finish hook, and the angle that you're gonna scrape at is gonna be less severe. It's gonna be closer to 90 because this hook is rolled over farther, but you're cutting more aggressively with this side than the other. So figure out what angle feels like it's cutting better. And you just keep working that. Until you know you've got all the old finish off. You can go straight to finish from there, or you can do a light hand sand with like 220, 320 to finish it off. But card scraper is a very underutilized tool, I think, because a lot of people don't know how to sharpen them properly. So hopefully this will help. But rather than spending a whole bunch of time sanding and getting the finish off with sandpaper, use a card scraper. And then once you have the tools that you need to sharpen it properly and you get it figured out, a card scraper will last years. I mean, you take off very little material when you resharpen them, and they're like $15 for 3. So learn how to use one. Once it clicks, once it starts working for you, I promise you'll use it a whole lot more, and it'll work out way more to your advantage.